I have no slides. Just going to stand here and be myself with you. So good afternoon, venerables, colleagues, fellow Buddhists. My topic is Buddhist practice in the age of artificial intelligence, and I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence in three different ways. The first way is generative AI, which is seeking to replicate human interaction. The second way is assistive AI, which is being used as a tool to enhance workflows and different kinds of project management efficiencies and to supplement or assist humans. And then the third way I'm going to talk about is the ethical considerations involved in AI infrastructure. So my perspective is not just on artificial intelligence in terms of personal practice. It's also talking about how Buddhist teachers use AI or respond to AI, and also in terms of publishing Buddhist books, which I've been doing for a long time, how AI plays into all of that. So let's begin with talking about generative AI, and I'll just start with some vignettes from the bleeding edge. So in order to prepare for my talk, I asked ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity to write me a 15-minute speech. My prompt was, write me a 15-minute talk on how Buddhist teachers should respond to our evolving digital culture. And within 5 minutes, I had 3 great speeches. Perplexity did a pretty good job. ChatGPT did a better job, and Claude did a wonderful job. Claude even reminded me to speak slowly and mindfully with pauses for reflection. I was amazed and appalled as I watched these texts pour out of the machine onto my screen. I printed them off, but I couldn't actually bring myself to read them for several weeks. And I brought them with me. You're welcome to have a look at them if you want. But basically what you are hearing is my own authentic thoughts that I have sort of worked at in dribs and drabs over the weeks before coming here. And hopefully that brings me to the first challenge of AI, which is, whose intelligence is it, really? It certainly isn't mine. So I'll just read here this little part here. At this point, generative AI can't really remember from one interaction to the next. So every conversation is like meeting someone for the first time at a cocktail party. There's no context. They might tell you an amusing Zen anecdote, describe the culinary habits of ancient Koreans, or tell you how to commit suicide. It has no understanding of what it's saying. It's just a probability engine for linguistic combinations. Here's my second vignette. So before 2010, the explosion of digital culture, I had been researching for 30 years, wanting to write a novel about the Panchen Lama through the whole lineage. So each chapter was going to be a different incarnation of the Panchen Lama. So I was curious to see, in the age of AI, what new research had developed since I stopped working on it around 2010. So I asked several AI engines with the following prompt: what emotional challenges were faced by the fourth Panchen Lama? The first result began well, explaining his political but not emotional challenges in the early 1600s, and then several paragraphs later began talking about the Panchen Lama's troubled relationship with the Chinese government in the 1960s after publication of his political critique, A Poisoned Arrow. Oops. So that AI fail of confusing two different people 400 years apart made me think, I can't trust this. And in fact, I later learned that about 25% of all AI results are hallucinations. That's what they call them. AI is mostly trained on internet sources like Reddit, Wikipedia, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, not legitimate journalistic or scholarly sources. So, and also I've been reading recently that in terms of social media, more than 50% of it is generated by AI bots. So now we start to call it the dead internet instead of what it used to be. So basically, this is like a totally phony ecosystem based on we don't know. Furthermore, as my evolving research into large language models used for training artificial intelligence has revealed, AI has distinct Eurocentric perspective and has little awareness of differing historical or cultural perspectives, let alone any psychological nuance. In other words, based on the data scraped for AI training, there is no way to understand the fourth Panchen Lama's worldview within his own context. It's all anachronistic and biased. A third vignette. One of my Sumeru authors, Peter Fenner, who's a psychotherapist in Australia, has been fooling around with a friend of his who's a psychiatrist to create a version of ChatGPT that could be a therapist who would work within the non-dual Advaita and Buddhist Madhyamaka tradition. So he asked, they've been training ChatGPT to do this, and basically in order to create the data for this, he asked ChatGPT to scrape everything that he's done, his books, his talks, his workshops, and so on and so forth. So this is how the AI responded to Dr. Fenner. Absolutely, Dr. Fenner. Your vision of creating a chat-based avatar to embody and transmit the essence of this, the unconditioned non-dual awareness central to your teachings, is both profound and technically feasible. By integrating your methodologies, deconstructive inquiry, unfindability dialogue, and free-form pointing out instructions into an AI framework, we can develop an interactive platform that mirrors and potentially refines your approach. That's quite a sales pitch. So there are already a variety of other Buddhist tech initiatives trying to create chatbots, Buddhist chatbots. Here's some examples. Roshi Bot is a Zen AI chatbot trained on the collected works of Shinru Suzuki Roshi. Sudo Shinran is a Judo Shinshu AI chatbot. Norbu AI is another Buddhist chatbot from Malaysia. There are also Buddhist chatbots such as Mindar, Sati AI, BuddhaBot, and so on, with more being developed all the time. But here's the catch. It takes between 10 and 100 gigabytes of information to train a large language model to converse efficiently, not necessarily intelligently, but just to sound like a human being. The collected teachings of individual Buddhist masters are themselves too small to properly train a large language model, since they would typically only comprise less than 100 megabytes. So attempting to have an AI chatbot creatively teach the Dharma based on the teachings of one teacher or a select few results in outputs that are repetitive, overly generalized, and basically not very useful because they're trained on very limited data sets. Second part, AI as an assistive tool. So there are various initiatives going on to translate Buddhist canon collections from a variety of lineages. Here's some examples. The Kensei Vision Project, KVP for short, has as its mission to preserve, translate, and digitize the collected works of Jamgon Kensei Wangpo, first in the Kensei lineage and one of the founders of the Rimei school. The collection spans 47 volumes comprising more than 30,000 Tibetan pages of text. So far, KVP has published several hundred texts freely available in their online reading room. The organization estimates that it will take another 10 years to complete the project, and they are exploring AI to help them expedite the process. Here's another one. Mitra, Machine Translation for the Languages of the Dharma, is an AI-powered tool for automated translation, semantic search, and philology using a Gemini API. The developer's goal is harnessing AI technologies to promote the scholarly study and personal practice of the Dharma and to accelerate academic and individual research through open source collaborations on data sets, models, and applications. Mitra supports Sanskrit, Tibetan, Buddhist scriptural Chinese, and English. It is a collaboration of the Sadra Foundation, the Kumara Jiva Project, AI for Bharat, Munlam AI, and IIT Kharagpur. In the early 2000s, Fogwang scholars began digitizing the Fogwang corpus, which comprises 2,000 volumes and covers 16 canons. So far, out of the 400 volumes of the Fogwang canon, their project has completed about 8 volumes. Out of 45 volumes of other Chinese Buddhist canons, their project has completed 3. The leaders of these projects say that it will take 20 to 30 years to complete. Personally, I have grave doubts about the value of continuing to translate canonical texts as a boon in and of itself. Don't we already have lots of Buddhist instructions? Isn't it about time that we start practicing them? I find that these efforts can veer into excessive scholasticism, sort of like trying to figure out how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, or what is the correct pronunciation of the word shibboleth. Given the polycrisis that the world faces now and the short time frame we have to solve our many problems, I really think we should be focusing more on practicing the Dharma that we already have. Which leads me to part 3 of my talk, which is ethical considerations in the use of AI. So I recently published a small book on Buddhist chaplaincy for the folks at the Harvard Divinity School. This is a copy of it here. To be distributed under a Creative Commons 4.0 license, free to share with attribution, no commercial applications, and no derivatives. The book is full color throughout and profusely illustrated. The illustrations were made using Midjourney AI, and I needed to confirm the legal context for publishing AI material, even with full disclosure, before I would agree to publish the book. So this led me down a rabbit hole into the arcane world of copyright, fair use, and legal precedent. I read amicus briefs, legal decisions in previous court cases, and opinions from a variety of legal scholars. It's complicated, but a recent lawsuit decision in favor of OpenAI against a consortium of big publishers gives you a sense of where we're headed. The judgment allowed OpenAI to scrape many thousands of pirated, copyrighted books to train their large language model with no blowback. Anthropic has just settled a multi-billion-dollar class action lawsuit out of court for the same type of alleged piracy for their AI. Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill has quashed any legal attempts to rein in AI for the next 10 years. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act prevents anyone from tampering with digital locks on all our software. Trump's forcing Canada to abandon the digital services tax, and Mark Zuckerberg's Meta's hardball tactic of denying Canadians access to news sites on their platforms are further indications of where this is all headed. Clearly, AI is here, embedded in everything we do now, and invasive. These days, one wonders if we are writing for people or just the AI engines that will parse our material in the future. These few examples I've given might be considered in the context of Buddhist wisdom, even though my vignettes may evoke a visceral emotional response from you. But the challenges of AI are not merely about what is technically or legally feasible. From the context of Buddhist compassion, artificial intelligence is a nightmare. Buddhist ethics and AI. There is no shortage of books, articles, and presentations about the dangers of artificial intelligence. Consider, if you will, a few. Environmentally unsustainable demands for electricity, water, and capital financing by data centers. The hollowing out of critical thinking in education. The vaporization of viable career paths for graduates replaced by AI. Unelected tech billionaires in control and increasing wealth inequity. Erosion of privacy in a surveillance panopticon. Erosion of democracy in a world of deep fakes. Weaponization of AI in geopolitical struggles. Inability of legal guardrails to protect individuals, and intensifying suffering and delusion. In other words, when we think about artificial intelligence in the larger context of pro-social contributions to society, it is entirely antithetical to Buddhist compassion. I recognize that there's no putting the genie back in the bottle, but Buddhist teachers and community leaders should be loudly and actively engaged in keeping the above ethical cautions in public discourse. We are the counter-narrative of sanity. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.